Pac had thing after thing after thing happen.
They just made him bigger.
And he just kept getting bigger from each thing. And then, you know, him and Big died, and that was like the ultimate, to the point where it's
can't get no bigger.
Yeah, you can't get not only can you not get no bigger, but now you immortal. You know,
Yeah,
like
now you're immortal.
you immortal at the very beginning of a genre of music being created. You know, like that's 30 years ago. You know, hip hop was only 10, 15 years old at the time.
Could you like, you know what's crazy? Like, now, before those two, like, obviously hip hop was hip hop, but like, bro, the impact that those two ghosts have on impact on rap is insane.
Yeah.
Like that, like it really shaped a whole generation. It literally shaped a whole generation. No cap.
No, yeah, they were so early on. Where like
and they were early in life. Pac died at 25.
Yeah, 20s.
Like he was a quarter of his life through. Like that's insane to me, because it's like, bro, how do you have that much life experience and knowledge at 25 for it to be, I'm not gonna say wasted, you feel me, but it wasn't used to its full potential because we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, and you know, and that's one of the other things about history is that, you know, even once something has happened and it lays the foundation for everything else, you know, it's hard to really go back and say what if, you know, because it's a completely different culture, it's a completely different norm, and you know, everything is. I think it's always hard for me to sort of accept the idea that everything happens for a reason, but I do believe that after something happens, everything has a purpose. Then you have to either you give a purpose to it, or you know, a purpose will be given to it. You know, and I think that hip hop as a culture and hip hop as a music genre did a good job of putting purpose to what happened to Pac and putting purpose to what happened to Big, to the point where you can still be talking about Pac and Big 30 years down the line. You know, to the point where Pac and Big can still have such an impact and can still be so cherished that whenever somebody start dissing each other, they say we don't want it to turn into what happened with Pac and Big. Whenever people start beefing, it's, you know, we don't want it to happen to what happened to Pac and Big. And you know, the truth of the matter is that Pac and Big wasn't the first rappers to be killed or the last rappers to be killed over beefing, but because of what people believed they could be when it happened to them, it was like, we can't let it happen to this person again. You know, like it's when you got somebody that, you know, in the hood that, you know, is good at basketball.
Benji.
It can happen. Yeah, Benji. It can happen to anybody. We just can't let it happen to him.
Right.
You know, because, you know, this is sort of the standard bearer. And so I think that along with that, like they marked it so that, you know, once that 12 months passed where both of them was gone, like hip hop would never be gone as a genre. Hip hop would never be gone as a culture. Our artists, the impact that they have was, you know, instantly felt. You know, they were cemented in stone. You know, to this day, I think Snoop Dogg is more famous than Tupac or Biggie just because he's lived longer.
Yeah.
But there's nobody who has had the highs that Biggie or Tupac had, and nobody that has, in no moment in hip hop, has been the moment after when Big got killed or the moment when Pac got killed. You know, every person who has passed since then, like as good as they are and as special as they were, you know, we ain't lost a giant since then, not in that type of a manner. You know, all the giants are still here. Jay still here. Nas still here. Wayne still here. Sure. Kendrick still here. And even if they was to go, you know, tomorrow, you know, like they going at the opposite end of it.
The opposite end, not on no street shit. Yeah,
so I think that,
sure.
You know, it's definitely, you know, was purposeful, you know, like, and there's a lot of people gonna live 70, 80, 90 years, and, you know, they never gonna be able to have, you know, the amount of purpose that they was able to sort of pull from that. And I think that, you know, even going back to sort of, you know, some of the things we've been talking about sort of that's outside of your music, I think that the culture of hip hop, like you can just sit down with somebody, if they love hip hop, they love the culture, they love the music, you know, you can have these long form conversations where you talk about these different things and decipher these different things. And I think one of the reasons I want to do the power rankings is because I feel like that same thing can happen with the music culture that's here. Right. You know, people that's been around and paid attention to music here and pay attention to releases can have sort of that same nuanced conversation about artists that was special here, or artists that didn't, you know, necessarily live up to their potential here, or what artists maybe have certain potential here. And so I ain't gonna lie.